Long before recorded history, there were advanced ancient civilizations capable of building gigantic megalithic structures we can't build today, lifting enormous stone blocks weighing thousands of tons and stacking them with laser-like precision. Blocks we still struggle to lift even with our modern cranes. They crafted mathematically precise, flawless monuments from the hardest stone on Earth, leaving us to wonder who these builders were and how they accomplished the impossible. Were they merely primitive societies, or were they masters of a forgotten technology lost to the sands of time? Uncover the evidence of an ancient, global, and technologically sophisticated civilization that once ruled over our planet, constructing gigantic sites the ruins of which are still standing, before a cataclysmic event erased it from memory. Access our eBook, Prehistoric Megastructures, a nearly 500-page volume packed with images and in-depth analysis of some of the most astonishing and unexplained ancient structures ever discovered, monuments that were clearly built with advanced technology from a time long forgotten. There's a limited discount on the eBook, so make sure to get yours before it's too late. The unique rectangular engraving found on the entrances of many of these sites, from Turkey to Japan, can also be seen on the Ishino Hoden Kofun, which is an incredible megalithic structure located in Takasago. This ancient monument is carved from a single massive stone and is estimated to weigh around 500 tons. The monolith is quarried from a type of fine-grained bluish-gray granite, and as we said before, granite is one of the hardest materials on Earth. The structure is roughly cubic, with a flat top that some believe had some sort of purpose. What makes Ishino Hoden particularly intriguing is the precision with which it has been carved and shaped. The surfaces are remarkably smooth and flat, with clean, straight edges that suggest a high level of technical skill and meticulous planning. This level of craftsmanship indicates that the builders not only had the tools necessary to work granite, but also a profound understanding of stone masonry. The site is associated with several legends, one of which suggests that it floats above the ground. Historically, the site is believed to have been used for burial purposes by the local ruling class, as the complexity and number of the tombs suggest significant time, resources, and labor investment. The site's secluded location and the effort required to carve these tombs into rock faces indicate that this was a sacred area reserved for individuals of high status or spiritual significance. Strangely, similar sites can be found on other parts of the globe. One of the more remarkable tombs found in Japan is the so-called turtle tombs, also known as kamekobaka. These unique structures, predominantly found throughout the Ryukyu Islands, capture attention not only due to their unusual turtle-like shape, but also because of the profound architectural and historical significance they embody. The Okinawa turtle tombs are meticulously carved from limestone, a sedimentary rock prevalent in the region, which has been used extensively across Okinawa for various construction purposes due to its relative abundance and workability. The tombs are shaped to resemble a turtle's back. This design is not merely aesthetic but imbued with deep symbolic meaning, reflecting a reverence for ancestors and the belief in their continued presence and protection in the afterlife. The construction of turtle tombs involves a sophisticated understanding of stone carving. Each tomb is crafted to have a dome-like, rounded top with a flat underside that rests on the ground. Traditionally, the turtle tombs are thought to have originated in the 17th century during the flourishing of the Ryukyu Kingdom. However, some scholars and historians propose that these tombs could be much older, possibly dating back to a prehistoric period or being the work of an unknown ancient civilization that once inhabited the region. This theory is spurred by the sophistication of the tomb's design and the advanced masonry skills required to construct them, which some argue may surpass the capabilities traditionally attributed to the Ryukyuans of historical records. These structures exhibit flawlessly polished surfaces and are meticulously cut, featuring perfectly precise 90-degree angles and edges. The weathering on the stone also suggests they are extremely old, leading to the belief that they were used by the people of the 17th century, but weren't actually constructed by them. Additionally, there are turtle tombs so ancient that they are barely recognizable, engulfed in earth and vegetation, suggesting they could be thousands of years older than mainstream historians believe. Strangely, these structures look very similar to the Quenuani structures in Peru. The design looks remarkably identical. During the fierce conflicts in Okinawa between Japanese and U.S. forces in World War II, records indicate that both locals and soldiers sought refuge within the turtleback tombs, which subsequently became strategic points of contention in the battle to control them. This showcases the strength of the massive constructions. Regardless of their true origins, the turtle tombs remain a vital part of Okinawa's heritage and are revered as sacred sites even to this day, with people continuing to construct tombs for their relatives in similar designs. And speaking of tombs, you should know that the entirety of Japan is filled with thousands of tombs, most of which are unexcavated. These tombs, or kofun as they are known, vary significantly in size, shape, and construction method. The most common shapes are keyhole-shaped, circular-shaped, and square-shaped. The keyhole-shaped kofun, which is unique to Japan, is particularly fascinating. It combines a square front and a circular rear. These keyhole-shaped tombs were constructed with remarkable precision and attention to detail. They are vast, island-like structures encircled by a moat, with some featuring several smaller moats. In Sakai City in particular, there is the Mozu Kofun group, which consists of more than 100 burial mounds spread across a large area. The largest and most famous of these is the Daisen Kofun, which measures around 1,600 feet in length, which is 490 meters. This makes the surface area of this tomb bigger than the surface area of the pyramids of Giza, and makes the Daisen Kofun the largest tomb by area in the world. The creation of this tomb was estimated to have taken 2,000 workers who worked a continuous 16 years to finish it, after removing 1.6 million cubic meters of soil. According to the local legend, to construct a kofun, people would work during the day, while the gods worked at night. Despite their massive size, little is known about the Kofuns. Because Kofuns are associated with Japan's mythological first emperors, archaeologists are not permitted to excavate or even enter most of these sites. For this reason, these ancient tombs remain shrouded in secrecy, guarded closely by the Japanese government and the Imperial Household Agency. The limited knowledge available only heightens the sense of fascination surrounding these keyhole tombs, leaving us yearning to uncover what's hidden inside them. As for the gigantic Daisen Kofun, it is believed to be the burial site of Emperor Nintoku, one of Japan's legendary emperors. However, this theory is mainly based on an ancient text which reads that, among 5 kings sleeps the Emperor Nintoku. However, this text was written hundreds of years after the actual construction of the Kofun, so who or what's truly inside is still a mystery. The global significance of the Kofun tombs was highlighted when the Mozu Kofun group was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2019. This recognition underscores the importance of these tombs not only to Japanese history, but to the broader understanding of ancient civilizations. The restricted access and limited archaeological excavation of the Kofun tombs in Japan have given rise to various conspiracy theories and speculations. Some believe that the Kofun holds advanced ancient technologies or knowledge that modern authorities want to keep secret. Interestingly, there are many keyhole ancient structures and depictions all across the world. It's clear that this symbol had a profound meaning across these cultures. There are the keyhole tombs found in Sardinia, although they are a bit different. These tombs are characterized by their elongated burial chambers with a distinct keyhole-shaped layout, similar in shape but different in function and construction to the keyhole-shaped Kofun tombs in Japan. This keyhole tomb is attributed to the Nuragic civilization, which is one of the Mediterranean's most ancient cultures that existed around 4,000 years ago. Another keyhole structure can be found in Egypt at the Kam Ombo Temple, which is famous for the mummified crocodiles found there. This architectural innovation was called the Nilometer and was used to measure the Nile River's water level during its annual flood cycle. It consisted of a single vertical column marked with graduations and submerged in the river. The markings allowed observers to read the water level as it rose or fell against the column. Another keyhole ancient marvel is the Saudi Arabia geoglyphs. The keyhole geoglyphs in Saudi Arabia are part of a fascinating and enigmatic group of archaeological features known as the Works of the Old Men, which spread across the deserts of the Arabian Peninsula. They are typically constructed from stone and are thought to be around 2,000 to 9,000 years old, dating back to the Neolithic period. Their function and purpose are still unknown. There are many more keyhole structures and depiction that in different ways resemble the Japanese Kofun tombs. However, there's another site, which unlike the keyhole structures we showed you so far, doesn't resemble, but looks like an exact copy of the Japanese Kofuns. But there's a twist. This site is not located on Earth. In 2016, researchers studying high-resolution photos of the surface of Mars spotted an eerily similar keyhole-shaped mound. The structure displays extraordinary symmetry, and what's shocking is that there aren't any large geographical features anywhere near this structure. The enigmatic structure visible on numerous satellite images of the Red Planet displays staggering similarities to the ancient Japanese Kofun tombs. Many UFO researchers agree and claim that the structure identified on Mars probably went through millions of years of erosion, but it's clearly visible. Shape is a definitive telltale sign of the possibility of an ancient civilization that inhabited Mars thousands, if not millions of years ago. These seemingly outlandish theories are actually supported by Japanese mythology, which is rife with tales that could be interpreted as encounters with extraterrestrial beings. In fact, the first emperor of Japan is considered to be a descendant of a celestial god. And in Shinto, the indigenous religion of Japan, there are numerous deities known as kami, which are described as interdimensional beings descending from the sky. Perhaps the most cited example in discussions about ancient alien theories in Japan is the Taketori Monogatari, also known as the Tale of Princess Kaguya. This 10th century narrative is considered Japan's oldest prose narrative, detailing the life of a mysterious moon child, Kaguya Hime, who is discovered inside a glowing bamboo stalk. As the story unfolds, Kaguya Hime grows into a woman of uncommon beauty, eventually revealing that she is from the moon and must return to her celestial family. The descriptions of her celestial origins, her return to the moon in what could be seen as a spacecraft, and the heavenly entourage that comes to retrieve her are often interpreted by alien theorists as an allegory for extraterrestrial visitation. In fact, there's a 7,000-year-old ancient rocket ship cave carving found in Japan. It is still a mystery how ancient people were able to carve a petroglyph that looks identical to a modern rocket ship. The most famous UFO encounter in Japanese history happened 220 years ago during feudal times. In 1803, during the late Edo period on the shores of Harayadori in Hitachi Province, local fishermen witnessed a perplexing sight. An unusual craft was seen drifting toward the shore. This object, covered in small metal plates reminiscent of the heat-resistant tiles used on space shuttles, eventually washed ashore, sparking curiosity and astonishment among the locals. The design of this craft was extraordinary, as it had glass windows in its upper section, likening its appearance and construction to technologies not seen until the modern era. As the crowd gathered around the mysterious vessel, a hatch opened, and from within emerged a young woman. The woman had a distinctive red hair and eyebrows and held a mysterious box. She was dressed in strange, unfamiliar garments and spoke an indecipherable language. Inside the craft, onlookers discovered writings resembling hieroglyphs, a type of script completely unknown to them. This story of the Utsuro Bug, as the craft came to be known, appears in 3 different ancient Japanese texts. Considering that these texts are historical, for many in Japan, this tale is viewed not just as folklore, but as a potential historical encounter with what some might deem a celestial visitor. Today, there are museums in Japan that even show a recreation of the vehicle encountered in 1803, although they refrain from calling it a UFO. Perhaps the most famous prehistoric megalithic structure linked to ancient extraterrestrials is the Masuda No Iwafun, which translates to the rock ship of Masuda. This incredible megalith weighs 800 tons and is carved from a single piece of granite. Strangely, it doesn't resemble any other architecture in Japan. Many believe it is some kind of representation of the celestial vesicles of the gods, but to this day, no one knows who carved or placed it there. On the other 3 sides, trellis-shaped chisel marks can be seen close to the ground. Because granite is known to be difficult to carve, even with modern tools, this sculpture fascinates specialists and scientists who consider it a technical wonder. On the north side of the structure, there is a square scale-like pattern. The most popular theory about the stone's construction is that it was used as an astronomical observation point. Its orientation alignment with the slope suggests that the monolith may be linked with the Japanese lunar calendar and to the first astronomical observations. However, some experts disagree with this. With no conclusive information regarding the significance of this enigmatic stone structure, the whys and wherefores of its existence remain a mystery to this day. But if there was an advanced ancient civilization tens of thousands of years ago, would the first and oldest known civilization in Japan know something about them? The Jman Culture, which dates back to around 14,000 BC, are considered the first people to inhabit what is now Japan. The Jman people were predominantly hunter-gatherers, though they also engaged in early forms of agriculture, and considering the era in which they existed, we can agree they were very primitive. They didn't have clothes and instead used animal skin. For this reason, the various dogu figurines created by them are quite unusual. These figures are depicted wearing sophisticated costumes and garments that resemble armor. How could such an intricate costume or armor have been imagined in a culture where clothing wasn't made from anything but hides? The strange thing is that similar figures were found all across Japan. Given the sparse population, estimated at only about 250,000 at its peak, and the limited modes of transportation, primarily walking, it is intriguing how such a specific image became commonly accepted among people who were barely in any contact with each other. This widespread acceptance might indicate that the staring dogu might have been based on something all of these ancient people actually saw. But considering these beings look like extraterrestrials with their bulging eyes and exaggerated proportions, together with their costume which looks like a spacesuit, it makes you wonder, how is this possible? But there are other strange figures, like the so-called reptilian statues, which date back to the Asuka period around 6th century AD. They look very similar to the 7,000-year-old Ubaid statues from Mesopotamia. There is no definitive explanation for why these statues have reptilian features, but we know well that reptilian humanoid figures are depicted all across the world. If these figurines represent a long-lost ancient civilization, this means that this civilization existed more than 15,000 years ago, in a prehistoric era before the Ice Age. This was a time so ancient that the sea level and the waters surrounding Japan weren't even there. But does that mean there may be more megalithic structures on the seabed near Japan? In 1986, a local diver named Kihachiro Aratake was scouting for a good spot to observe hammerhead sharks. As Aratake explored the waters, he encountered massive underwater rock formations with sharp, precise angles and fine edges that struck him as too unusual for a natural formation. Intrigued by the geometric nature of the rocks, he noticed that they resembled architectural structures, complete with terraces, steps, and flat surfaces that mimicked the appearance of step pyramids and other ancient man-made constructions. The site became known as the Yonauni Monument, named after the southernmost of the Ryukyu Islands in Japan where it was discovered. The site's largest and most famous structure, which resembles a stepped pyramid, extends some 90 meters at its base and rises to a height of about 25 meters. Realizing the potential significance of his find, Aratake alerted marine scientists, including Professor Masaki Kimura of the University of the Ryukyus. Kimura, along with other researchers, began a detailed investigation of the site, which led to further discoveries of the monument's features, including columns, roads, and what appeared to be cross-shaped formations, all suggesting the possibility of an ancient, submerged, man-made site. Dr. Kimura argues that the monument could be the remains of a 10,000-year-old city, submerged at the end of the last ice age due to rising sea levels. According to his research, the formations on Yonauni show evidence of human modification, such as the deliberate carving of the rocks, consistent spacing and dimensions of structural features, and the presence of what he interprets as roads, ceremonial centers, and perhaps even large-scale water management systems. Dr. Kimura's hypothesis is supported by comparisons to known ancient constructions, particularly those involving large stone blocks or megalithic architecture, such as those found in ancient Mesopotamia, Egypt, and Central America. These comparisons are used to argue that the skills and technologies required to create a site like Yonauni might have been available to a prehistoric civilization with advanced engineering knowledge. Nevertheless, the established archaeological institutions deem the site a natural formation, made entirely by nature. But how is this possible, considering there are straight lines, steps, and sharp edges, all with exact 90-degree angles? The region around Yonauni has a rich history and mythology that includes legends of lost continents and great floods, similar to flood myths found in many cultures around the world. These stories, passed down through generations, sometimes speak of ancient cities and civilizations that were swallowed by the sea, lending a mythical allure to the idea that Yonauni could be a remnant of such a lost world. One such story is the lost, ancient kingdom of Yamatai. It is believed to have been a vast and powerful nation that disappeared from history as rising sea levels submerged its cities beneath the ocean. Yamatai was reportedly governed by a mysterious sorceress named Himiko. Its exact location has never been identified, nor have the causes of its vanishing been understood. Interestingly, the existence of Yamatai has been confirmed by historical documents from 300 AD. Records even mention their queen, Himiko, dispatching an envoy to the Chinese emperor. It's theorized that tectonic movements in the region may have led to Yamatai being engulfed by the sea. Despite the fascinating theories of a man-made origin, the Yonauni Monument is the subject of ongoing debate among scientists. Some geologists and archaeologists argue that the monument's features can be explained by natural geological processes such as tectonic activity, which is common in this seismically active region. They point out that sandstone, which makes up the monument, is prone to fracturing and erosion in patterns that can mimic man-made structures. However, the theory that the Yonauni Monument might be man-made is not without its merits and continues to be a subject of intense research and exploration. The precise angles and the seeming organization of the structure suggest that further investigations are needed to fully understand the origins and nature of this underwater enigma. There are many more unexplained structures and mysteries we found during our research, which we won't be able to scope into this video. We journeyed through the dense forests and coastal waters of Japan to uncover remnants of an unknown civilization that once mastered the landscape, both above and below the sea. These structures suggest a sophisticated knowledge of engineering, astronomy, and geology, indicating that the people who built them had capabilities that far exceed the traditional view of prehistoric societies. As we close this exploration, the revelations we've encountered compel us to reconsider not just the history of Japan, but the very narrative of human civilization.